Hi, hello. I should be streaming now. I never really went back to watch my own VOD to figure out when I actually start streaming after I click the button, and I guess I should, but I just haven't. So, just like the title implies, I use Arch. Finally. I've been wanting to for a long ass time since I've had experience with 3 different Debian based distributions, and it was so annoying. Oh, you want to use this cool shell prompt for fish? That's great, that's amazing. But you have to install a different version of fish for that to work. And then you go through the annoyances to actually do that instead of, well, installing the fucking latest version to begin with. Well, on Arch, that's not really an issue anymore. Because, well, you get the latest packages. Because it's a rolling release. Now, I have to mention that I'm kinda lying because what I'm using is not fully Arch. I'm using Endeavor OS. And how DT or DistroTube said in his video on the best Arch distros that are not Arch, Endeavor OS deviates from Arch the least out of the options that he talked about, which is why I selected it. And fuck, this is amazing. The experience I've had with this distro is immediately so much better than I've had on Debian. On Debian, a lot of things were just broken for not understandable reasons, and it's supposed to be like a stable distribution that apparently like works, is stable, and is all good. But it's funny because you have to make it stable in a way because some things just don't work. For example, say I'm on Discord or some other full screen app, you would expect it to, well, be full screen, right? Hello. This is actually the person because of which I'm even making the stream. I'm gonna get to it. So on Debian, in the down, sure, I'll say it like that, and in the right, sometimes pixels appeared that just jumped around mindlessly. And to fix that issue, I had to unfull screen the app and then full screen it again. And that wasn't a one-time thing, because if I switched to some other application, or even didn't, I come back to the app, it once again has that bullshit. And I guess a fix to that is making a window rule to make sure the size of the app is correct, but like, why is that even an issue to begin with? It was so strange. And certain other annoyances that I had also. And the thing with Debian, what if I want to install something? Sometimes, maybe, just sudo apt install -y. Installing things like this will usually work, unless it's a fucking, like, widely used application. I think it worked for OBS, sure. But probably not Discord, or Telegram, or what else do I have? Spotify, VS Code. I could be lying about some of these, to be fair. Like, maybe I was dumb and just assumed I couldn't. But for some of these, absolutely, I had to go through some hoops to actually install that software. You know how it's done on Arch-based distributions? You just pacman, or rather sudo, important to remember, sudo pacman -s, and then you can no confirm, but this is like slower to type in than just pressing enter a bit later down the line. And now you can just install anything. almost anything. Anything that is in the Arch repository. However, there is also the AUR, which is mostly the reason why I wanted Arch to begin with. I didn't necessarily care about like a light distro that doesn't install all the bullshit. I mean, that's nice, but some things that are considered bullshit, I just expect to have to begin with. So I'm not exactly a master enough where installing Arch would be viable. I don't know fucking partition tables, I don't know the magic commands that I have to do to make sure it installs, and I heard that Arch now has an installer called, you'll never believe it, Arch install. But from some people that I respect, I heard that Arch install isn't like fully great yet, isn't fully stable. Like, it's good, but has its own things, meaning that I could run into one of those issues and have no clue how to resolve it. So installing something like EndeavourOS was incredible. And now I do have the AUR. So in EndeavourOS, what you will have pre-installed is Yay. Yay is your way to interact with the AUR. Now let me explain what that means. Fuck, where am I? Skill issue. Okay, here we go. Let me explain what the AUR and the Arch repository even are, because just recently even I didn't know what that even was. But thanks to Misha, and honestly, most of my journey, like, to actual Linux is thanks to him, literally couldn't be done without him. I don't think it could be. So, the Arch repository is what the Arch distribution pretty much considers valid and then packages for you to install. Those packages you can install with Pacman, but there are also user packages that users create and package for you to install. Maybe the Arch repository doesn't consider them good enough or safe, or maybe they're closed source, whatever, but it's not in the Arch repository. So if you try to install that with Pacman, you won't be able to. Pacman won't find it. And AUR, the U in AUR stands for user, which I just figured out like 5 seconds ago. Gonna be clear about that. So to install those user packages, you use Yay, or so you would think. You can see this auto highlight where we install Paru instead. So both Yay and Paru are essentially wrappers of Pacman that also introduce the AUR. So you install Paru like that, I guess, and then I think you can uninstall Yay like this, but you don't necessarily have to. I don't think it gets used automatically anywhere, or at least I haven't heard that it is. But basically, now to install anything, always use Paru. No sudo required, by the way, because it's automatically somehow later down the line. You don't have to explicitly say sudo. So now you have Paru. This is how you install everything. Okay, let's try to install something that I don't yet have. Okay, let's install Etcher. So I just type in Etcher. Like, I don't even know what the package is called correctly. Like, I literally don't know. But here we have 45 different options with descriptions of them. Okay, so what do we have here? The first one is usually the most correct one. And as you can see, all of these options have AUR here, meaning that none of these you'll be able to install with Pacman, but you can install them with Paru or Yay. I recommend you use Paru for no reason other than Misha recommending it to me. So, usually the first option will be what you want, but don't blindly trust it. Definitely read the description, because sometimes what you're actually looking for is maybe the second thing. So, what's the difference between those two? I can't see any in the description of this. However, we have numbers here. So numbers, the one that goes after the tilde key, is the popularity of the package. So this one has higher popularity, but I don't know what plus 152 is. So actually, let's try to look for it in the AUR. And this is where you get it. So what is, oh, I guess votes. So plus is votes, I guess upvotes, like there would be on Reddit or something. So yeah, pretty nice how you can actually see some info about the package that you're about to install, meaning you don't really have to even know exactly what the package name is. You essentially just search for it with Paru, and then you type in 1 and press enter. Then you can pick the repository from where I guess to install it. Here I can't give you any advice, I don't know either. I guess 1. And these are all the dependencies that is also going to install, and it even shows you what was the old version and new version if you're upgrading something. Now, proceed to review. Very important step, which I'm not quite a master at yet either, but I recommend you try to become better at it, I guess. So proceed to review. Now you get the packaging things in a less window, I guess per every file. And here you essentially go through and read stuff and try to basically figure out that, okay, this package is safe to install. Basically, you look through stuff, and if you see anything suspicious, something to look out for is maybe some strange links, moves, removes, copies, so something that is fishy. If you do see that, you go to the packages page on the AUR, so where we were just now, and read the comments. Summary, use Paru always. Exactly, yeah. Because with Pacman, at least what I noticed myself doing all this time, being using Linux in one way or another, before I install anything, I Google how to install it. Which, what's the point of that? On Windows, you do the same thing. You Google how to install something and then install an installer and go through the fucking GUI menu, fuck. Hey, the Sass, I'm really happy to see you too. I'm basically explaining my now experience of using Arch, by the way. I fucking got the Infinity Stones. I'm trans, I have thigh highs, I use Linux, I love Rust. What else is there? In the in the road of programmers. Yeah, so where was I? Yeah, you go to read the comments and see what they say. If they're fine, then you can install it. Otherwise, if this doesn't look fishy to you, and well, I'm not quite sure how to figure that out either, but maybe I will someday. You can then press Q if you're sure that you can install it, and then press Y, but I won't because I don't actually need Etcher. I have Ventoys that I have yet to actually test. Use a custom keyboard. That's, oh, you're so right actually. Furry. Oh, that too. That too. I feel like I have to become a furry. It's in my mind now that it's like, okay, girl, like, you have to. It's just the path of life. And I don't necessarily want to, but I feel like I have to. Which is a really strange position to place yourself in. I do understand. But yeah. Custom keyboard though, definitely going to be the case. I plan to spend at the very least $1,000 on my next keyboard. For something that I love so much, I'm willing to spend the extra money on it. And ideally make it like perfect for me. Alternatives to being a furry? I don't know about that. So, yeah, after you like install everything, what next? Next, let me show you off KDE, which is probably the thing that you installed, or at the very least, I recommend you install that first. If you haven't used a Linux distribution in the past, GNOME is, it's a trap. I remember a few years ago, I tried Ubuntu in a virtual machine, and I actually kind of fucking dislike it. Really? Are you sure? I'm sure I can find some guy that just makes keyboards, like custom keyboards. There are people that are into robot. Oh, I'm definitely not going to become that. I'm sorry to everyone who likes robots. They're kind of lame. I don't know why, I just see that as kind of lame. So no, that's probably not going to be for me. Plus, I think I've come across enough furry porn where I'm like fine with it now, for the most part. Or maybe, just maybe, I just won't become a furry. Like, that's an option, but in my head, for some reason, it isn't. Right, so, KDE. GNOME. It's like Windows Plus, if even. And it's not quite nice. From what I remember, at the very least. But KDE, on the other hand, is incredible. And that is also something that Misha recommended to me. Eventually, when I actually get a job, LMAO, so I can fund that. And then, yeah, definitely. That's fair. Like, enjoy what you enjoy, definitely. So, KDE. Fuck, let's just, I guess, open settings and go through stuff. Go through stuff that's important. Immediately you see this thing that I don't necessarily recommend you change immediately, but animation speed can actually make how your Linux looks very different. So, what about appearance? You can get themes, as many as you like. Change how your windows look, how your widgets, I guess, look. How the highlighting looks. Now, if I highlight some text, it's being highlighted with the correct color, no matter where I am. It's only 250 or so to start off with a great one. It ain't too bad. I trust that, but I feel like if I'm updating a keyboard, I might as well splurge, you know, rather than spend 250 and then the next one say 400, where I could instead buy a 650 one to begin with that is better than both of them. Yeah, you should. You're the reason I even started this stream. I was doing something else. I was trying to fucking figure out Blender to edit a video, because editing on Linux is a fucking pain. but it's very important for me that you have as much of a great experience as I'm having on Linux. So that's why this stream even exists. So, amazing, the fact that no matter where I select, it will be selected with the cool color that I picked, which is pretty cool. Window decorations, so the title bars and what are they called? Frames? Yeah, frames. The most amazing thing is that you can not only pick your font for your entire system, so every place that doesn't decide its own font will use your system font. And you can pick any, and font style, and even size. By default it was pretty fucking small, so I changed, I went to adjust all fonts, size, and set it to 13. You might want to do that as well, but I'm like zoom crazy, I like zooming in on everything, so you can see if you like that. With buying, you probably won't need everything, anything over 300, but building one can go over that. Yeah, what I plan to do is hire a quote-unquote guy that does that like as a hobby / as a job, so he can do a custom keyboard for me. That's very good, and I intend to pay a high price for it. Okay, and then fixed width. Something that I got so surprised with. If we are on, okay, this is fine. If we are on Discord and I start typing in some code would actually render in the font that I picked for fixed width, which is so cool. It follows what I fucking picked. Instead of some ugly ass monospace font that I don't like, I literally pick the one that I do want, and I installed the nerd font of JetBrains Mono, by the way, not just JetBrains Mono, the nerd font, and I'll show you how incredibly easy it was to do in just a second. If I forget about that, please remind me. But yeah, you can pick your fonts. Now, after something that we should have done a bit earlier, actually, you saw where I just went. This is the place where you configure the global scale. By default it should be 100, but once again I'm zoom crazy, so I zoomed to this very strange percentage, and you should only change it with these keys because it jumps by 6.25%, which is a good like way to change it, I guess. It explained it somewhere here. I'm not sure where though. Somewhere it explained that, basically. So you change it here, and after that, you go to change your fonts. And after you change the font size that you use, this thing will automatically switch to some number. I'm still not 100% sure what it's about, but I think it's a good idea to keep force font DPI. Because if you don't, some apps will just ignore your font size and be way too small or maybe way too big. So that's important to realize. And with force font DPI, that won't happen. All apps will follow your rule of fonts. To be honest though, I was gonna do HK stuff, but then you made me install EOS, which is a good decision though. I know, right? I'm so glad. I'm so glad you did. And it's so like incredible. Oh hey Peace. I am talking about Linux. I'm a Linux YouTuber now. I mean, I have been for a while. What was the last time I made an HK video? It's meant for monitors with high PPI. Lamau. I love abbreviations. How can you have PP in your fucking abbreviation and not laugh. Well, alright, basically I wanted to point this out, that this is pretty important, even though I don't quite understand it. So pay attention to it, basically. What that exactly means for you, I'm not sure. You can check, or rather choose the icons that you choose. Ah, yes. Pick your cursors very easily. If you're on Debian and you select a different cursor, it won't automatically update. If you're on EndeavourOS, at the very least, it works immediately. Same thing applies with changing shortcuts, which we're gonna get to, and that is probably the most amazing part about Linux. On Debian, I had to like reload the fucking settings app a billion times for anything to change. On EndeavourOS, it updates pretty well. Your voice sounds more femme each time. Oh, thank you. That's the best. Can I like your comment? I guess not. I guess not on stream. Thank you so much. That's okay. You can change your cursors basically, and you can get like a billion different cursors and all that. You can change your size too. Let's actually check. Yeah, and this updates immediately. On Debian, I had to fucking reload my system for this to work. Basically, if you want to go to Linux, try out Linux, do not, and I'm telling you, do not under any circumstance pick Debian. Fuck that. Fuck that distro. It's so bad. It's so ridiculously bad. It's made to be... I already had a rant about this earlier in the stream. I'm gonna have a rant about it again, because it's supposed to be stable. It's supposed to be just a thing that works. Or it just... yeah. It's simple and all that. No, fuck that. It's riddled with bullshit that you would expect stability to fix. Yet, I'm on a rolling release, which is apparently dangerous, and yet everything just works better. It's so strange. Stability is good. I agree, if it's there. Yeah, do not use Debian. However, I can see a world... yeah, I thought it was. I can see a world where it's a good idea to use something like Ubuntu. Check Discord, you say. Okay, let me do that. I can see a world where using something like Ubuntu or Pop! OS or Mint OS is valid. And honestly, like, yeah, it is. But I'm gonna get to it in just a sec. Peace sent a nice meme that I'm not sure if I can show it like on stream, the messages. If I can, please say so. But yeah, basically it's a meme where Arch is like, time for your update. But I'm not sure how to like, okay, I can, okay, this makes it easier. Thank you. This. The thing is, this meme is lying, because nobody, on Linux, nobody is pressuring you to update. You don't have to. You can stay on your system permanently without ever updating, I feel like, more or less. You decide when you update your system. And that updation, I'm going to call it updation, that makes sense. That updation doesn't really... stop you from doing anything. Let me show you how to do that. You open the terminal, sudo pacman syu, you enter your sudo password, and you go and do literally anything else. Your system updates like by itself without popping out a billion different windows that you have to look at or that steal your focus. No, it's just a command, and that's it. Dot files management, we'll definitely talk about that. That's an interesting topic. Right, so it's valid to use Ubuntu, Pop! OS, Mint OS, something like that, that is geared for beginners, and well, that is at the very least supposed to work, and I would really hope it does. If they don't, that will be hilarious, but I imagine they work. However, I'm sure I'm not the only person that refuses under any circumstance to actually use those distros because of a very simple reason. They're lame. They're incredibly fucking lame. They're so lame. Why bother using Ubuntu? Ubuntu is like the Windows of Linux. If I'm switching over to Linux, I might as well use something better. Does that make sense to you? Like, okay, maybe that's the first time you are trying out Linux at all. Maybe you haven't been using WSL. Like, this is your first time, like, even touching Linux at all. Then yeah, most definitely, your best pick is probably Ubuntu, or Mint, or Pop! OS, probably, right? But if you've been using WSL, or overall you've been using Linux in some way or another for some time, why are you installing Ubuntu on your main system? I find that so strange. Wouldn't you have encountered many issues that a different distro would solve, like Arch? At least for me, that was exactly the case, and that is why I first installed Debian, because I got scared of actually installing Arch, but then I realized that I don't have to install Arch, I could install a derivative of Arch, which is exactly what I did. Not everyone is good at computers, but a lot of people don't like their data being gathered by non-FOSS OS. I wish my brother didn't install Windows 11 on my laptop. Yeah, fuck, that sounds annoying. Windows 11 is just, about features. What if we removed some of them? Like, why? I can see some cases where by removing some features, you make things more simple. Yeah, in some aspects, most definitely. For example, Windows 11 looks much better, in my opinion. But looks isn't everything. For me, usually, looks matter more than functionality. I surely hope not. Okay, I could, like, make an excuse, like, oh, I'm not gonna judge them for it. No, I'm absolutely fucking judging them for it. What are you doing, man? Or woman? Or NB? Or non-B? Or bi-B? What am I doing? Okay, why? Like, why would you do that? I've been using WSL for a while, and it was Ubuntu for a long time. In terms of WSL, your distro, like your specific distro, doesn't matter that much because you don't have a GUI. Well, usually don't have a GUI. I didn't want a GUI. You might, because WSL2 supports GUIs. It's like a virtual machine, but kinda better. Yes, exactly. So, using Ubuntu and WSL makes incredible sense, but I'm sure I'm not the only one that eventually got annoyed at how fucking old Ubuntu is in terms of packages. You try to install Fish. Great, you installed Fish, but now the shell prompt that you want to use for Fish requires a later version of Fish. And now we have to go through some back-ass ways to actually install that version. Which is why I removed Ubuntu from WSL and used Kali instead. It has a bit later updates. Like, they're a bit more up-to-date. Still not perfect though, but in terms of usability, it's pretty much the same. So if you're a beginner and you want to try WSL, use Kali instead of Ubuntu, is what I would recommend. A little, but you can just use the superior package manager and not worry about app. Well, what do you mean by that? like, I guess I'm talking about distro packages to like install, maybe if you're on Debian based distros, to install Debian packages. I've heard of Nix actually. Currently downloading Across the Spider-Verse on my laptop. Oh Jesus Christ, I ain't going to cut any courses on a movie like this. God damn. Wait, can your laptop even render that many pixels? Like, if your resolution is 1080, are you going to see the difference? I'm not sure if yeah. It can be used in a distro. Huh, would you look at that? That's cool. That's cool. But I think this fits in my very often made point, which is, well, how would you know about this? Which is actually a very valid point. Like, a beginner isn't going to know much, and the solutions that you already have that seem obvious to you, they aren't really going to discover soon enough until the point where they just switch a distribution, you know? And to add to that, yeah, exactly, I agree. And to add to that, if you have a pretty reasonable ability to use a better distribution to begin with, you should. Which is why I'm recommending Kali over Ubuntu in a WSL environment. However, if you've been using WSL for a while, and now want to switch to actual Linux, or at the very least dual boot it, just install EndeavourOS. Just install the EndeavourOS, it works, and it's great. It's amazing, it's incredible, and it's Arch. Which is, I feel like, what you eventually want out of Linux. Like, you eventually want to switch to Arch. Doing it with actual Arch and installing it, no clue how to do it, and honestly I'm too scared. But with something like EndeavourOS, you get Arch without the pain of installing Arch. Where now you have access to the Arch repository and the AUR, granting you pretty much every package known to man. And then if you know about Nix, perfect, you get even more. I think there are only a few distros I would ever recommend. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I don't know that many, but I've tried, I guess, 4. Ubuntu, Kali, Debian, and EndeavourOS, and the best experience I'm having is on EndeavourOS. Right, let's... I think I missed something. Home Manager. When we will talk about .files, but that's a bit later. We'll come to that though. Ubuntu base, probably newer. Manjaro. You recommend Manjaro? I'm surprised. The videos that I've tried to search for Manjaro to like check out. I was going to install that first. And I go through the YouTube search and it's like, Manjaro is bad, Manjaro is horrible, Manjaro is the worst distro ever. I'm like, I probably shouldn't use it. Yeah, so let's come back to the settings that we were just on. Yeah, basically you can configure how things look. Cool. Workspace behavior. The animation speed that we've seen on the previous screen is here as well. Everything is obvious here. Let's go to desktop effects. This is how you can make your Linux to move in different ways and make it look very pretty. Like you see the cool people on YouTube having their Linux. Hold up. Boom. Opening chat on the phone. Have you seen season 2 of Heartstopper? I haven't even seen season 1. So, no. Okay, gonna be waiting for you. So, there are a lot of different desktop effects. And all of them are like cool different options. And this is where animation speed comes into play. I recommend setting it as a bit slower at first so you can truly check out those animations in their best possible way. If you set them to instant, it just looks like your windows flick strangely and it doesn't look good. So don't set an instant animation speed at first, then you can decide if you actually want that or not. Yeah, so you can, just like on Windows, press Windows plus or minus to zoom, but now it's actually a bit more reasonable because it doesn't like show it in a strange fucking window. It's just like a global thing, which is really cool. And then Windows 0 to deactivate it. Also, get used to the fact that the Windows key is pretty naturally not called the Windows key on Linux. Would be strange. It's called Meta or Super. Sometimes it's still being called the Windows key, but usually it's called Meta, so get used to that. Many of the animations and different things, you can... Oh, god damn it. I should have... I should have muted. Boom. Okay. You can configure them, basically. You can set hotkeys, and let's resize it. And by the way, I'm currently holding the Meta key. And with the left click, I can move windows. I don't have to like specifically grab the title bar. I can just meta and move, which is very cool. And as you can see, my window is wobbly. We'll get to that setting soon as well. Yep, the super key is really sweet romance series based on a popular webcomic about two British high school guys. Maybe, but then when I look at anime that I usually like, it's all like power fantasies pretty much. So maybe I'll like it, but maybe it's not my type of show. I think I have it on my watch later list, so I might get to it. Let's fucking activate this window so it shuts the fuck up. And we will talk about the orange thing in just a bit as well. I'll probably forget about a bunch of things that I was supposed to talk about. You can change the zoom factor and where your mouse is tracking and so on. You can basically expect most things to be very configurable. If you use a behavior, you can probably change how that behavior works. The things that are, I guess, understandable even without explanation, I'll just do this with the mouse so you understand, and focus on those that actually matter. Mouse mark. It's quite interesting. Meta Shift F12. Let me show off what it even is first. Currently I'm holding Meta Shift and moving my mouse. And I can draw, which is really cool. And then I can set hotkeys to clear it. Pretty cool, but it's honestly a pretty whack hotkey to just holding Meta and Shift and then moving the mouse, rather than something like Meta Alt and then you click and move the mouse. So I just disabled it. But it's pretty cool functionality. it's live action, even more so. But maybe I will. A lot of live action that I watch, I end up like stopping to watch because it's too much. It's like too dramatic. I haven't finished Breaking Bad, which is crazy. I tried to go back multiple times, but it's just too dramatic. Same thing about, what's that blind superpowers guy? Daredevil. Great show. Too nerve-wracking. The Boys is straight up making me anxious. It's an amazing show, but goddamn, it's even more dramatic. So anytime I try to watch live action, I eventually drop it because it's too much for me. So maybe this is the type of show that I would like. Right, so Mouse Mark, cool. A lot of other different animations like wobbly windows, which I mentioned recently. Magic lamp. So if you have squash and you minimize and activate windows, they're pretty like reasonable, what you would expect. But magic lamp makes it look cool, like you've probably seen from people using Linux. Isn't this amazing? I think it is. Wasn't The Boys dramatic? It was incredibly dramatic. It's so dramatic. The amount of like very sharp situations that happened there is like, fuck. Yeah, that's what I imagined, which is a good thing, I think. Yeah, The Boys is just so dramatic. The amount of rape that happens there, and it's also shown so realistically. I have some like, basically I know what rape is, and in The Boys it's displayed in the most realistic way, which is, it like rotates my insides every time. Yeah, I know. So, a slice of life is maybe what I actually want. I like comfort shows. Shows that I can easily come in to watch without having to spend a lot of energy, like emotionizing, I guess. Which is why, if I go to... Yeah, the stream doesn't end if I like go away. Let me show you my recommendations. Hassan, Connor, Hassan. Okay, what? Hassan. Hassan, Connor. A lot of like comfort streamers. A lot of stuff that I can easily pop in and just watch without really having to stay any specific amount of time, rather than something that pulls me in a bit too much, like The Boys does. So, Magic Lamp is probably what you want to have, and the reason why I suggest not having too instant of an animation speed is because if we set it to instant and try to do it, oh, it doesn't, it's literally instant. Okay, maybe not completely instant. This just looks like it's flashing incorrectly, which is why I don't recommend setting it to be that fast. And now it looks actually kind of sweet. Who? Maybe I do. Who are you talking about? Oh. I watched the video from him today. The video about why it's damn near impossible to do a 64 heat run in Hades. I actually played Hades, and I only stopped because the controller controls are ridiculous, and I don't like playing with mouse and keyboard, so I stopped playing the game. But I don't imagine I'm gonna continue watching him. The video was cool, but whatever. I'm like whatever about him. Someone like summoning Salt is unsurprisingly more of my type. Right, so a lot of different animations that you can pick. And whatever command you do is just click, apply, do the thing to activate it, and look at it, compare, so you can decide whether you like it or not. With the hotkey of, by default, Meta D, you can peek at desktop, but for me it's a different thing. So Meta A does that. And this is slide. No, that's virtual desktop, so it should be somewhere. It should be somewhere here. Something peak desktop. I don't know. It might be in a different place, but regardless. Yeah, cool animation, isn't it? Because by default it just moves you there and that's it. But you can have a cool animation that you can also configure, by the way. And then something that you've probably seen already is that my desktops slide. Funnily enough, exactly a week after that, yeah, exactly. And I've seen the video of him showing that off on the recommended, which is, I guess, this video, which I expected to happen. Oh, fucking yeah! Proceed with installation. Come on. The math in his video was right. He just forgot to account for the. True, so true. I love the indomitable human spirit memes. I have seen a few and they're so cool. I had to allocate 10 gigs for and 10 gigs for home. So that gonna be a problem. Is that enough? Like for the start, like for the system to work, no, that's not really gonna be a problem. It is going to be a problem when you start installing more stuff. Let me show you how much space I take up. So something -h, this, right. Fuck, where should I be? Yeah, so I use 31. To be fair, I installed most things I need and a bit, like 1 or 2 extra programs. And I use 31 gigabytes. But that is with Discord, VS Code, all the extensions that are there, all this stuff. The terminal, Telegram, OBS, Blender, lossless cut, some other stuff, I guess, too. So you might think into getting more space eventually. However, on Windows, 50 gigabytes wouldn't be enough to just use the system at all. On Linux, 30 gigabytes is the state where I already have everything I need. Isn't that crazy? I think it's so cool. Right, so we mostly went through everything. You can configure most things. Yeah. Screen edges. You see me moving my mouse to go between desktops, and what desktops are, we'll come and discuss in just a second. This is how you enable it. Switch desktop on Edge. And I have it always enabled because it's very useful, especially since I have 9 desktops. It's very nice to be able to move between them with the mouse. See ya. Very useful. However, if you put activation delay to too high or too low, it's gonna be pretty much unusable. So change and test it. Don't forget to click apply until you get something that you enjoy. Cool. This we don't care, that we went through. Okay, window management. First of all, you can change how different windows are focused. You're probably used to clicking on windows to make sure they're focused. Well, now you can use something like focus under mouse to change that. Okay, this is empty. Let me open 2 dolphin windows, and now I just need to move my mouse onto it to make it the active window, which is incredible. I have 500 gig SSD. Do you think I can use that as kind of my portable OS and use lab CPU? Do you mean like that SSD is, I guess, extendable? Like, do you just connect it somehow or just put it in? If you can fully just use that, that's perfect, because you can just install EndeavourOS on it, and then you won't have to worry about the bullshit that you had to worry about this installation. You can just pick erase disk, basically install fully on this, and not worry about any partitions. If you can use that full SSD, that would be like the perfect thing. So yeah, I'm using my full SSD for this. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I don't like that default. Hold up, let me change that back. Screen edges, I like 150. 250 is too much. Kind of like flash drive. I mean, I hope it's not an actual flash drive, more so like an SSD, but using it like a flash drive. I feel like that may become kind of annoying for you, but if not, that's like the perfect thing. Ideally, you just install over the SSD that's in your laptop and like boom. Yeah. So where were we? Yeah. Now, when I move my mouse, that window gets automatically activated. And since my mouse is here, I can be sure that this window is now active. I don't have to click on it. I don't have to do shit. It's activated, and that's for sure. You can delay focus by some amount of milliseconds, but I just set it to 0, so they immediately activate. And it's very important that you do not click this. Because let me show you some example where it's incredibly annoying. Let's change the display. And let's make this... Fuck. I use a different window manager now where I can't have a floating window, which I want, but I can't really show off what I'm trying to show off. Basically, say there is a window right here in the middle of your screen, and then you want to activate it. So there's this full screen window and then a not full screen window in the middle. With this option enabled, what will happen is that you can't really activate the middle window. So you try to click to activate it, right? And then you move your mouse towards it and boom, it's gone. It's immediately gone. Why? Because you set no delay focus, and focus on their mouse and raise on hover. So all that raise does is raise the window. It's not really an understandable thing, at least it wasn't for me, but basically there's a stack of windows and you see from the top. And raising a window doesn't actually really help, so you might as well disable it. That way you can easily move your mouse onto this middle window and it will then get activated. Yeah. Because I want more space if I am to like go full Linux, VS Code extension, Obsidian nodes. Yeah, I think you should. It's the dream. Then you can, if you want to, have click raises active window, but I don't really need that. Matter of fact, I want to be able to click on windows without raising them. Here are a bunch of different options for what happens when you click the title bar, if you have it. I don't, and I'm gonna show off how to do that, I guess. Yeah, basically you can choose damn near everything. I'm not gonna explain each thing because I recommend just looking through it and testing out. Here, the interaction with inactive windows. There are different ways. By default, left click is activate raise and pass click. So raise, the thing that was just talked about, you may or may not actually want it. I don't want my windows to go jumping around, so this is why I just pick not raise. The window gets activated and the click gets passed, but it's not raised. So if there is a floating window somewhere here, for example, like the Explorer, it stays there, it stays visible, and I can still use it nicely. And the meta key that we talked about, where you can move a window, you can resize it. By default, it's going to be right click, but for me, it's the middle click. And then you can set middle click, I guess, in your case, to do anything except, for some odd fucking reason, closing the window. I would hope there was an option for this, but there isn't. And then you can change some things on the mouse wheel. No idea what this means. Raise lower, I now understand, and it's kinda useful, but only after some configuration. And you can even have something that I made up entire function in AutoHotkey for Windows, change opacity of the window. I'll keep it on raise lower. Okay. Okay, I'm tired of talking. I heat up. I heated up, yeah. So I'm gonna end stream. I'll probably continue talking about the cool stuff that you can do in KDE, but I hope this will be a great starting point for you to like look into stuff, I guess. Fuck, it's so hot. I have my window fucking open. What's up with my body? Why does it like heat up to 500 degrees? Ironic that you came back when I'm ending. Yeah. I'll need to buy an AC eventually if I want to fucking survive.